You look like you were in a Microsoft audition. I'm sorry.
Have you found salvation in Zune? You know, it's like it's a new music player. It's taking the MP3 world by storm.
Oh my God, that's even more than
here's the thing.
millennial edition. Here we go.
Hello, interwebs. It's me, DG Chichester, also known as Dan Chichester. I am the editor from Epic Comics. I am the writer of Daredevil and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Clive Barker's Hellraiser and many more things, including a new Kickstarter comic called Axel's Infernal and including a new comic series called Risk, a cyber thriller that comes out tomorrow. But importantly, we're going to talk all about that tonight on Splash Pages.
Woohoo!
Is the one obvious thing.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. You are watching Splash Pages. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an amazing show for you today. And you know what? But I can't talk. Carrie, take it.
Hey, I'm going to be talking really well soon. All right.
You make his mark nice.
Ooh, yeah. Since we're going into hell, I had to have something red and melty and all exciting and something that will burn a little bit going down. I am super excited about tonight. Ratatosker is super excited about tonight. Tom Dog, hi. I know that you're super excited about tonight as well. We are going to be joined by one of my favorite guests, a man who I would gladly go into hell with and is my happiest person to go into hell with, actually. Let's hop over to see how Drew's doing and let him introduce this amazing man.
Hey, everybody. I'm sorry, that's called a pause for dramatic effect, everyone. So, yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Tuesday. So, you had that going for you, which is nice. Like I already said, we have a phenomenal show, a great guest returning. So, thank God we made that good of an impression. Thank you, Leo. Yes, our guest is a fantastic writer. He's a man of many hats. I've never seen him wear one, but I assume that they're probably stunning. He's done a bunch of work for Marvel. You've seen him on Daredevil. We've discussed a great length about Hellraiser. We discussed a lot of others independent work as well, but he's back. He's going to be talking about some of his current work, his current upcoming book, Risk, his current project, Axel's Infernal. There's a bunch that Carrie probably would have known to say. So, Carrie, I'll let you say that later. But everybody, the one, the only, D.G. Chichester, sir.
Woohoo!
Thank you. You guys, I could just talk about your intro, forever. The whole setup, the segue, this incredible, broad, computerized intro, very impressive. Drew, your tip of the glass, it's like, I don't always drink this, but when I do, all very stylish. And Maker's Mark Perry, that is my favorite. So I raise a T to you on that. That's all I have at the moment, sadly. But I will work on a better imbibing. It's great to be back, guys. Thank you very much for the kind invitation and allowing me to shill myself. So
You're welcome. No, and trust me, Carrie will take note of that. So if next time we're all at a con together, I'm fairly certain a bottle of Maker's Mark will just randomly appear at your table.
I would,
And not this one either.
Yeah, no, that one's going. Oh, the mini one. Oh, the mini Squirrel's got one too. Everyone's got one. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a lush. This is Ratatosker. He's just drunk all the time.
Bourbon. That's good. That's good if they have that. Leo, you're the only sane one here. I think you got the
Yeah. I've been trying not to drink during the shows because it's I tend to be a heavy pour, so it's
okay.
When we get
I drink Maker's Mark, but a friend of mine gave me root beer whiskey.
Oh, okay. That sounds sweet.
So good. It tastes
good?
just like
It
tastes just like root beer, and I could do easily 5 or 6 shots and just like
And then
oh wow.
Yeah, and then both of them drink, and then when they're reading things, they speed up or they'll flub the words, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit here and sip this little bit of whiskey and be the safest person in the asylum, and I'm like, okay, I hate both of you because now I'm the adult here. You're both awful people.
See, that's the thing, Drew. You sip, I chug.
Yeah, it's called rationing. We are on for an hour, sometimes 2, and you got to pace yourself. But no, you pace yourself like the juggernaut in a fine china shop, right through. So I don't want to hear it. You're a grown man, okay? You should know the difference between root beer and root beer alcohol. But No.
Leo doesn't normally get a chance to talk too much. So when he gets drunk, it's fun because suddenly Leo is full of questions.
No. Listen, I'm not arguing it. I'm just putting it in context, okay? Don't hold on, Carrie. We're not doing this. We're not embarrassing me in front of our guest. We have him right here, okay? He took the Microsoft audition photo with great ease, which is probably the funniest break we've had in the first 5 minutes of a show. I just said it. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm an awful person." But he laughed. I was like, "Oh, thank God."
That is a look I can't get away from. I keep trying to get that removed from the interweb. And,
that's all. That's all Leo. He just looks online and he finds like someone else would have used it. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna grab that. We're gonna use it." And I'm just like, "When was this made?" Why?
Well, I try to find like the
professional photos,
the clearest photo. It doesn't have to be professional, but the clearest. It's,
I have 2 professional photos now. One that sort of looks like me and is a little relaxed, and then I have a stiff one that's on LinkedIn. So if you ever need, either of those versions of myself, feel free to ask.
I do remember last time you were on too, we had a different photo that was up first, and you were like, "Please take that down. Please don't ever use
There's
that."
a bunch. Yeah, there's a cycle of
and I was like, okay,
things I no longer want to remember. So that's not a. I don't have bad memories of that.
Oh no.
That's several shades ago. So.
Oh no, I get it. I get it. I feel the same way whenever I show my ID to everybody. It's still my photo from 17, and I'm just looking. I'm like, oh God, this kid.
Yep.
And I show it to people, and they're like, they don't change it. I was like, to this point, the DMV has bigger problems than updating my photograph.
Yep.
So, but thank you, thank you, Tom Dog. I totally could, but this jacket just won't quit. And it's actually funny because Dan, every time I think I got to do another interview with him, and I got to let him talk about his own work, because I still laugh about when we interviewed and you asked if you could promote your own stuff, and I flat out was like, no. because I didn't know. And
I do
and then
remember that. That
Leo,
was hysterical.
yeah, and then Leo brought it up. It was like, man, you shut him down. Do you not like him? I'm like, no, I love Dan. He was great. I had a moment where I was like, I didn't know what to do because this was like the second year we were interviewing guests and I had no idea. So I just was like, what are you going to default? No, got it.
Yeah, I was fooled. It was like, oh man, what did I do? Maybe I should just never come back to a comic convention.
No, it wasn't. And then later on, Leo was like, he could have talked about his stuff. I was like, I realized that after the fact, but it felt weird acknowledging it. So I was like, I was just going to play it off and then gradually make it up to him. And I was like,
you have. It's all good.
No, it was funny, but it was just like when Leo brings it up, you're usually like, oh damn, like Leo noticed, the master of the videos. He was like, are you okay? Like, did you not have a good time? Like, I had a great time. Dan signed my book. That was awesome. I talked to him about the amalgam universe. It was like, no one talks about that. Everybody wants to talk about Daredevil. I was like, okay, Daredevil's cool, but
it's true.
Yeah.
There is one guy who is such a devotee of the amalgam universe. He's got like an incredible collection of original art. He's gotten people to do.
Wow.
He's Reed his name, and I've met him once in person, and he had a binder about this thick of all the original art he had gotten done by artists recreating those characters. And in fact, he was doing a Christmas card project, which I thought was very ambitious, where he was going back to the original creators on the amalgam stuff and having them do amalgam stories for Hostess cupcake ads. So if you remember, you have like an ad with Hostess cupcake.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was like swinging around and cake, or he'd steal it from the Green Goblin or something like that.
Right.
And so in his head, he wanted this for the amalgam guys, and he was trying forever to convince me to do it. And he'd gotten Mark Waid to do one, and a bunch of other people. And I said, Reed, I just can't wrap my head around it. I'm gonna do a disservice to you. Like, you're better off just going elsewhere for this, or if you can wrangle Scott McDaniel into doing it, more power to you. But I'm not your guy.
Well, you know what? I had a coach back when I was doing football who was always saying it's better to stop before doing a half-ass push-up. And I feel like it's kind of a similar thing. It's like, why would I do this thing I'm not passionate about? Right. And then you have it. And then I see it later. I'm like, oh, this is not no. Yeah. Like you said, again, you can bring Daredevil's armor back, whatever hell on earth with the Cenobites, but it's just like, can't do it. Everybody has just, it's fine.
That was it. And I felt, it was exactly that mental thing. I'd been in touch with this guy on and off, through the years, as he sent me notes, and he's always very cordial and very nice. And, he was offering to pay us, it wasn't like trying to get something for free, but there's that thing about, you have to also know when to say no.
Right.
Projects you're not passionate about, or things that would be a burden on your time when you want to put that time elsewhere, like on a podcast or something like that.
Howard Chaykin just recently reached out to his fans and is doing very specific commissions. He got accused of, like, somebody tried to blackmail him or something with like,
oh, really?
Like you have this naughty stuff up, and he's like, do you know who the fuck I am?
Exactly. Howard Chaykin.
Yes,
yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, So he was like, if anybody wants like some naughty commissions done, send them my way. And I had this 3-paragraph description of something from a story that I'm trying to put together that was supposed to be, it's going to be in next year's, but it was supposed to be in a Cthulhu mythos spicy book. So it was kind of tentacle, but not really quite that. But it was I thought he'd be perfect because there was Teslas involved and then weird porn and all this stuff. And he was just like, this is way beyond the scope of what I feel like doing right now. So thank you, but no, this is not something that falls in that
Howard
category. So I was like,
okay.
Yeah, Howard Chaykin. Well, first thing we're saying is okay, Carrie, I need to say this. Howard Chaykin is the wrong person to blackmail. I met the man.
Oh yeah, he's making tons of money off of it.
Yeah. Because 2, what you should do, because he's going to be at Terrificon, where we're going to be at. you should bring that rejection email and have him sign it, just and frame it. Just be like, I have proof that Howard Chaykin has limits.
Has limits, yes.
Just
Well,
have him sign it and
That's
just be
good.
like, hey, dear Carrie, fuck you. And then Howard
Right.
Chaykin. I'd be like, done.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily because the material was so naughty. I wasn't like
No.
that depraved. It was
Yep.
just there was so much going into it.
Yep.
You know?
Right. It's that. Yeah, that makes
Carrie,
sense.
Yeah.
you wrote the
And
man
this was the
essay.
man who the first time I got anything signed from him was like, "Can I tell you to go to hell?" Yes,
Yeah.
please do. That would be so cool.
Well, Elliot Brown, who's a great guy who was responsible for much of the technical illustrations in the original encyclopedic guide to the Marvel Universe, and he had designed this fold your own Hellraiser box, for us when we did the original book, and it was like a giveaway to stores, and that was how it was always supposed to end. It was supposed to fold this, put tab A into tab B, glue tab, Z, and Elliot had to break it all down for me. And the last line was, the last part of the instructions was go to hell. And and they made us pull it at the last minute. They were
What?
Clive Barker's Hellraiser on the
terrible.
promo thing. And then we had to say, have a nice trip, which maybe was.
Did I show you my?
Yes, but
There you
Did I show
go.
you my new one? Mine.
Did
Yeah.
you make
mine
this, or did you? Is this a purchase?
Oh no. I
No.
purchased this. I had a normal just display one, but then I had to get the one that I can actually take apart.
Right.
So
Right. I 3D
and
printed a little mini one that I take to conventions now. So it's much like
nice.
that one. You can
Oh,
you can pull it apart and you can reorient it in that way. There's another one you can actually take apart and has like a secret compartment in the middle of it, but that was a little too elaborate.
It was so funny because
sounds
I met a
expensive.
horror. Yeah, it does. But I remember I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about horror movies, and she just thought, I was like, what do you feel is like a horror movie that's overrated? And she brought up Hellraiser, and I had this thought, which I was a quote from someone I met years ago. I was like, well, you're entitled to your opinion. It's just wrong.
Right.
Because in my head I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
The original one she was referring to, not the Hulu one, the original one.
Yeah. But I was just like, are you kidding? Like, Hellraiser is amazing. Like, what is like I was like, thank God this is not in person. Otherwise I would have to be like, smoke bomb. Nope.
Right.
Smoke screen. Nope. Screensaver mode. I'm like, oh no, yeah, that's a thought.
I mean, if she was referring to like some of them way down the line, they weren't all as impressive. As they could have been.
Like, you mean Hellraiser 9, like Cenobites in Space or whatever it was?
Oh
Which
my
one was
God.
that one?
Yeah, I lost track after. I'm aware of 4. I don't think I've ever seen 4, but
I've watched them all. I had like the most recent one before the reboot.
Right.
That Doug turned down right away because they sent him deals, or what's the you can't talk about that, do not chat about this anymore. NDA,
Yeah.
Thank you. They sent him an NDA from hell, which apparently isn't that big of a thing, but he turned it down, and like a day later, rather than negotiating, they cast somebody else because they just needed to get the filming done. And it was based off of an old script and stuff. And it was a good movie, but it did not require Pinhead to be in it. As you know, there are so many different groups of Cenobites. They did not need the Order of the Gash to be involved at all. Had they put in any other Cenobite, it would have been a really good movie. He wasn't required to be in it, and so that's the only thing that kind of brought it down. Was like, why is he even here? Because none of this has anything to do with his main calling. So.
Yeah,
and you wrote the Bible on it, so it.
Yeah, but Carrie, we talked about the same thing when we were talking about the Hulu Hellraiser, or as I called it, the Hulu Raiser, which I'm still very proud of. It's a small victory, Dan. But yeah, I mean, they could have been anybody else, but they just kind of stuck to the same story, but they were just completely different. I was like, yes, it could be any other group of Cenobites.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be the priest or any of the others, but here we are. Because
But the thing is, they never expanded upon
I know.
the universe in the movies so much.
Mhm.
Everything was there for them to kind of open it up, and it becomes this bigger platform. But Hellraiser becomes synonymous then with Pinhead, and
Right.
then it's the poster. It has to be there,
Right.
and even in the reboot again, you've got to have somebody with pins in their face,
Yep.
whether it's a
And
Doug
him.
Bradley rip or a female priest or whatever it is.
Right.
So they've done themselves a disservice, over the years by not expanding that to where hell raising, means any number of these
Right.
devotees, and
Absolutely.
that's their own.
But yeah.
Before we move on from that, just I know it's not Pinhead and it's nowhere near close, but did you read Batman Dark Patterns?
No, I haven't. Should I? Was it good?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
really good, but
Oh my God. Yes. I know what you're
good.
going at with Leo. Nice segue.
Yeah, what did they call him?
The wounded man.
Wounded Man. Yeah, so it's
Uh-huh.
instead of like pins on the head, he has he drove like nails all throughout his body.
He can't
Okay.
feel it.
It's
Yeah.
based on an old medical diagram. Actually, it's a historically accurate. You'll see it and you'll be like, oh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because I know you.
Yeah. But then, so he can't feel anything. So he has all of this in his skin. He should be in agony. His nerves are dead. He's basically
right.
Oh, yeah. But
Dark
it's
By
so
the way,
good.
while we're having a quick break here, guys, we'd put it on the advertisements, but Dan here is awesome and is giving away some freebies towards the end of the show. And
am.
so make sure that you comment, ask some questions, do your thing, because up for grabs are a copy of Axel's Infernal #1, an Axel's
Mhm.
Infernal prize pack, which is an autographed 11x17 print poster of the issue 1 cover, a holographic sticker of the logo, and an autographed copy of the #1 script, an
Mhm.
autographed Daredevil Black Armor collection, and an autographed copy of Street Writers, his soon-to-be released book, which collects writing tips and tricks from his writing podcast from a couple years back. And I also notice, I found this when I was looking at Street Writers, that you have, I'm not going to say her name because she'll talk to me, but an Amazon AI app or skill that for Street Writers.
I
But she
do.
doesn't
Yeah.
say anything so far. It's
I don't think she's
she
going to
needs
say
to have,
anything.
she needs to be updated.
Yeah, she hasn't been
Yeah,
updated in a while. But I think it seemed sexy in the early days of Alexa. But and since we're not doing the podcast anymore, I'll be quite honest with you, I probably will not get around to updating it. It's sort of
You
like the
should update her
amalgam
with the
hostess.
book.
I know, but
Nope.
I have problems with Alexa anyway. She's
Oh.
not kept up with the world.
It's okay. We understand that. We get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of, throwing it back, I definitely want to bring up. So, I love that again. You during your run of Daredevil, you did the armor. The Daredevil armor. It didn't have the greatest reaction. And then it kind of got put away. And then it came back and it was a popular book. People were like, oh wow, this is great. Like people like me who had completely, it was like, oh yeah, that happened. And I was just reading, I was like, this is fun. Like, do you remember when Daredevil was like, not gloomy? I was like, wow, fun. And then what I enjoy is, and I don't know if you know this, but he recently, the current Daredevil run, Saladin Ahmed run, he's wearing it again. I'm like, man, you just can't get enough of this armor.
Yep, I think it's the ultimate redemption arc, so long as in that current run they don't utterly destroy it again, which is what they did after I was removed from the book. They literally destroyed it. They spent an entire issue like having, I think, Warren Ellis like cut it up with scissors or something.
Yeah,
comical because it was supposed to be this tough, material.
Right.
And then so they just put it away, Drew. They, they removed it, from continuity. And
Absolutely.
so I sort of see the Hasbro toy the Black Armor miniseries I did with Netho Diaz, and now the fact it's appearing in the regular book, like the Ultimate Redemption arc, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally, I was reading that run because later on in the year we're going to have Saladin Ahmed on. So we're looking.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very excited. We're having him on later in the year. But yeah, and I was like, oh my God, like, because I opened the book and I'm like, I just see a John Romita Jr. cover and it's the Black Armor. Like, okay, like what? And then I'm reading the book. I'm like, oh my God, like, and I saved one or two of the images just because I was like, holy crap. Carrie Leo, if you don't mind.
Leo.
Oh, sorry, I was sharing on social. Repeat that.
Leo, can you please
Open
share
the Drew file?
Thank you.
Drew file.
Yes,
file.
The Drew,
there's only
Drew folder.
Like the X-Files, except it's
it's just full of lunacy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Everything's based on Drew. We do Drew's news, like Blue's Clues.
Yep.
And
I don't want to talk about it.
Is there a jingle for that we've got?
No, actually, there is.
Oh yes, there's a whole commercial for it.
Oh,
and a face splice thing with him holding a handy dandy notebook and everything.
Cool.
Yep. And at the end, they always show my reaction, and I'm like, I am not drunk enough for this shit.
I got a. Oh, there we go.
So you have Nyla coming back from who I believe was a character during your run, or something like.
I don't think so. No, I don't think she's part of my world.
She knew of your of Matt when he was going as his other identity, which was your idea, the Jack. I believe.
Right. Yep, but that's interesting. Okay, so they're even tying back into that. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nods back.
Yep. Yeah, so you have that, and then Leo.
That's a good shot. That's
great. I was like, oh man.
That's well done.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, and then with the last image, he's like putting it away, and he's talking about how, like, I guess he was dealing with it feeling itchy. He was like, God, this thing, I know it's a little uncomfortable, but God, I'm like Matt, you don't think to wash this thing? Like, did we not learn from Spider-Man? Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Also, like, you got super senses. Everything is going to bug you.
Yeah, but I was.
Would you rather itch or be shot?
Right. But
exactly.
Funny. He's putting it away in like a storage closet. It's
exactly.
Well, the prom tux I never got rid of.
There you go. And I'm sure eventually you could still fit. But the point is, it was just, I was like, wow, this is just like, just seeing it, I was like,
yeah, like, treat it like so, like, matter of fact. It's kind of cool. So they never acknowledge like how he gets it back, do they? I assume in the story. So
it just
shows up in it.
His regular duds were messed up. He needed a he just, hey, I still have this. Still fits. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like,
well, that's awesome. I mean, that was the original impetus for the suit anyway, was that, the original one got destroyed and he said, I can't go back to red jammies. I need something, tougher. So they're playing off the same themes. So I heartily approve. So that's very cool. And I did see the JR cover and the John Romita cover, and I did get a good laugh out of that because it was, it was kind of a bit of a thrill to see him illustrating it, because when we were doing the Fall from Grace story in the first place, he was concurrently doing the Man Without Fear series with Frank Miller.
Right.
So there was a group interview that they did. I don't know if I told you guys the story before, but they were doing a group interview with us just about Daredevil. So it was me, I think it was Scott McDaniel, it was John Romita Jr., it wasn't Frank Miller, there might have been somebody else. And at one point they turn it over to me and they say, Dan, tell us about this new costume. So I go on, this enthusiastic rant talking about, like, biomimetics and, and it's made of this and it's made of that. I'm so impressed with myself. And I look up and I just see John looking at me and he's like, what are you smoking?
Wow.
Somewhere being like, impressed and just this guy is off the deep end. And, in a wonderful way. I mean, he's a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. No, but like you said, here we are. It's he still got it. So, like you said, ultimate redemption.
No,
So
I mean, I sort of set it up in the Black Armor series in my mind, you know, you know, it would be available, you know, to
Mhm.
him in that
Absolutely.
sense that you know, Melvin Potter had fixed it for him. So I always figured
Yeah.
there was another version he had somewhere. But
Absolutely.
you know, now that they've got it back in continuity, maybe they use it again before 30 years go by.
Yeah, I'm hoping
That
because
would be
I
good.
like I said when your mini ended about it, I was like, man, I hope they do more because it was just so much fun reading that and whatnot. And I was like, again, you were just having a good time and you had a great collaborator and
Totally.
you know, all 5 issues were just such a blast to read. And so again, seeing this, I was like, yeah, Marvel, you still got it. I mean, it's a little
Yeah.
delayed, but you still got it. So
No.
you know, so
They
just
got my number if they ever want to take a walk down Retro Lane again. So
hey, we'll be reading. So all right,
That was
that yeah.
I was so
So that
sad that you. Yeah. Oh, cool.
oh no, Leo, I was gonna Leo, you can move that. No, it's fine. Put it away. We're good. Put it back in the closet
put them back
for
in the
later.
closet, back in the storage unit where it's
Yep.
hanging
And
out.
not the incinerator. It's where we put the other thing.
No incinerators.
No incinerator this time. You were saying, Carrie.
Well, I was so sad because last year you booked yourself ahead of time to another con before you got invited to Terrificon where all of the Daredevil people were. And
Right.
it was like, well, I guess I'm not going to any Daredevil panels or anything because Dan's not going to be there. So what's the point?
Yeah.
And then that all got torpedoed anyway because I went on vacation about a week before that was supposed to happen, and my wife had an injury 5 hours into our vacation, so she broke one foot and sprained the other. And,
oh my
we had
gosh.
to fly back across. You know, we had to cancel the whole trip. We had to fly back across the country. It was in Seattle, and then I had to cancel. You know, that show, which was in San Jose, and then Mitch, who runs Terrificon, was like, "Well, do you want to come up, you know, for just the day to Terrificon and be on the panel?" And I said, "I just can't. You know, it was her injury was too fresh, and we were trying to navigate what was going on." So,
Of course.
but that was disappointing to miss. But I understand Ralph Macchio said nice things about me, so
Oh yeah, he
that's
did.
all that matters. You know,
I was sitting in that panel. Ralph had wonderful things to say about you and other people who could not be there, but still contributed to that great legacy of the
that's
man.
great. That's great. Yeah, I haven't seen Ralph in too long. So.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a foot injury does not give you superpowers, so she wasn't
there was
able
no
to.
super hopping across country. No, nothing. No mutant powers came from it.
A lot of cursing, probably.
Yes, a lot of cursing. You know, I'm directed at me, but that was, you know.
Yeah.
You know, just real quick, since Daredevil is back in the MCU, I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of panels to come from or upcoming.
I'm always grateful for, you know, connections with people, and I reach out, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not I'm hopeful, like some of the things that had to get canceled get reconnected. I'm connected well with the GalaxyCon folks as well, and they've often brought me in on stuff. So I just came back from doing a show in Richmond, you know, about a month ago. So that was a good fun time.
I want to put together a panel with you and a couple of other people that are just like creators that are way too smart for their own good and are dark as shit.
No. I'm sorry,
I like that.
Carrie. No, I'm sorry. Your panel is how we did the Midnight Suns, a discussion. You know, and how it will never happen again in exactly the same fever. Moderated by Carrie.
I've noted a lot of the horror authors, you guys, and creators in general, I'm going to say, because I shouldn't just say writers, because a lot of the artists dig deep too.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys, I occasionally have to actually look something up, which I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a pretty fucking smart, twisted chick who studied a lot of weird history and religion and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and having to be like, oh shit, what's that? But then also having those little nods, like we're gonna have to hop into, because we're like 30 minutes of the show, we haven't yet, but Axel's Inferno, like Sammy the truck is Samael. And I was like,
Indeed she is.
oh,
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
fabulous. Yeah, all of these little connections that you drop in here and there, and some of them are like, just whoo.
And
But
some of them are
for a
just
lot of people, I'm
fun. Like,
assuming that's some, yeah.
yeah,
And some of them were looking up like, is that real or did he just make that up?
yeah, some of there's that too. But like you probably noticed the in the first issue, the old guy, that she rips the pearls off from is Ed Warren, so named after the Warrens, the famous couple from Connecticut who investigated the supernatural,
Yep.
and then
Uh-huh.
and Clancy, who is in the second issue, is the cook, is named after another
Yeah.
supernatural, investigator or spiritualist, rather,
Right.
I should say.
Thank
So,
you.
there's things you can sort of populate,
Well-
through there, quite well. But thank you. You should read I don't know if you ever read the Marvel Age interview on the Midnight Suns, where it was me and Chris Cooper and Howard Mackey and Len Kaminsky. Is probably one of the best interviews, like especially about the genesis of the Midnight Suns. There's some great. I've returned to that now and again, and that's a great like touchstone of when we were all super jazzed about it. And I could tell you the one moment we all knew it was going to fall apart, which was like in a subsequent group meeting where we all got together to plan the next whatever big event or crossover, and we all pitched some crazy idea or whatever it was, and the reply from editorial was, "Oh, that's too sci-fi horror," and we all looked at each other and we were like, "You do know what we're writing here, right? What we're creating. It's a book called The Midnight Suns with a demon on a motorcycle and a chemically induced vampire and a bunch of other vampires and evil book from hell and so on and so forth." But it was just
Rise of the Lilin.
the massive disconnect between what we thought we were doing and clearly what the editorial group then was looking for was just so vast that you sort of knew the writing was on the wall at that point, even though it lasts a while to go.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing when I talked to you when I was asking about stuff, and you were just like that you had a friend who approached you because you happened to have hit on something from an ancient text that had only recently been translated, and the access to it was so limited that they were just so surprised you did it, and you're like, I made that up. Like, totally made up lore that was thousands of years old in
Sometimes you maybe you key into something.
Yeah, your brain knows where to go. You just wove around past the barriers, and hit on the exact right thing to do.
I often find that there's a lot of things, especially in movies and whatnot. They're like, "Oh, this great moment!" Like, yeah, we improvised that. There was no script. I was like, I just went with it. Like, so I just, metaphorical hat to you, sir. Just like made that up. Cool, thank you.
Well, you can get, and I think for me at least, as time's going on, that's a much better freeing attitude. I mean, I would always do my research, but sometimes I would try to hew too closely to the specifics of it. Whatever character was or character's name, which might be really great in the original Greek, but actually you can't pronounce it, at all. But I would still be very devoted to it. Now I think if you just sort of, fuel yourself up on a bunch of influences and then run with it and be damned if somebody calls you on it later.
Right.
Don't stop the momentum just because that isn't that exact thing that the Aztec hell did. Does it feel good? Well, then let's run with it.
Yeah.
How do they know? Have they actually been there?
Well,
like they might have studied it, but there's a chance that they were wrong. That a little thing could be a fly dropping that changes the entire mode of the text.
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't matter because no matter what you do, somebody's going to hate it, and somebody's going to call you on it, and somebody's going to say, "Well, that's not right." So you may as well do something that you're just feeling right about, and let it take over from you, because then you're kind of onto something.
And
Well,
those somebodies are going to have a drunk squirrel who can wield lightsabers showing up at their house in the middle of the night, saying,
For sure.
"So,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
messing with my friend Chichester there?"
Well, and it's funny that you guys say that because I remember a story. I think it was when James Gunn was starting to work on Guardians, and he had written a pitch, and I think he was talking to a fellow creator, and he was like, "Yeah, this is okay, but it's not like great. Like it's basically he was trying to write it like he thought Marvel would be. It's like, how would you write it? Like, what is
Yeah.
your pitch?" And James Gunn did his pitch. When I think he came back an hour later, this is pitch, and the guy was like, "I would see this movie.
Right.
This is the
Right.
movie you should make." And as we
Right.
all know, that's what he went with, and the rest is history. So, like you said, you can be aware of the playground you're playing in, but you play your own game. You do what
No,
makes sense for you.
That's a perfect way to put it, because you can second guess yourself out of anything by trying to conform to a different, system. You're going to keep it within the sandbox, the playground, whatever, but do it your own way. That's where the best results are going to come from.
Absolutely. So I think that's just kind of what it is. And then especially kind of if we can, Carrie, like you said, we're already halfway in, so let's segue to, seeing where you're going to go with
This
Axel's.
playground.
And yeah. Well, speaking of, I definitely want to touch on Axel's Infernal because, reading, first thing, thank you again. It's been a minute since I've ever read a script from a creator. And it was just such a trip because, again, you realize every creator has a different style.
Yeah.
Like, and I just reading yours, like I knew exactly the references. Like, oh my God, the way you were describing the diner was just fantastic. Just this just awful greasy spoon, but I was, like I kind of, what happened?
May I quote from the script real quick?
Sure.
The
Yeah,
intro to
go
this
for it. Yeah, knock yourself out.
panel
What do you think,
2.
Gary?
Introduction: neon hog slop. Creepy, like the kind of diner truck stop you'd think twice about wanting to actually go get something to eat in. But not Addams Family mad, more Devil's Reject, Rob Zombie worrisome, flies, smears, stains, smells. If there's a place for it, there's a sign on the wall. Therefore, behoveth him a full long spoon that shall eat with a fiend.
Well done. And
Yeah.
and then when they were done, they had drinks the titty twister from dusk till dawn.
Exactly. I should have dropped that, in there. And then now that's the almost too clever by half, but I don't think I wrote it into the script. But Neon Hog Slopped, which is the name of the diner, is actually an anagram from that quote. So if you
Nice.
if you rearrange it, it becomes, part of that piece that you just read out, Carrie. But I did not call overt attention to it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
So-
but
Yep.
it was just, again, reading it. I
Clever.
mean, I was even like asking Carrie, I was like, this is a reference, like, the waitress. I was like, and Carrie, and, again, and I'm a fan of mythology. So I was like, there's so many characters and so many different mythologies. It's hard to keep
Yeah.
track how y'all explain the world. Damn it.
Kikimora is that little gal up there in the top right. She
Yep.
is a Slavic swamp spirit, although I believe, although she appears to be Japanese with a fan at the same time.
Yeah, we Carl
But-
mixed it up, didn't mix it up, like not get it right. I mean, he decided to kind of like tweak it, but that's
Yeah.
exactly
There-
where you're kind of going. There's a Japanese water spirit,
Yeah.
or water imp as well. So I think it's probably more based upon that in a way.
And it was funny because the way that you had Necros talking to Percy and Virgil, to me, kind of reminded me of when Dean from Supernatural would talk to Death. Just that kind of this is the way things are going to go. You are trying to subvert what is with what you want, and I'm humoring you, even though you are basically a flea to me. So it's like, this is essentially, it's like, hi, this is my show. You're a part of it. So you either go along or there'll be, pun intended, hell to pay. So choices, milkshake. What?
Right. I drink your milkshake. And oddly enough, I am aware of Supernatural, and for whatever reason, it's a show I've never watched.
That's
Me neither.
And I know it's been on, it was on for like 14, 20 seasons or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So, but I know it's good stuff. So I take what you said as a huge positive. Like,
oh yeah, totally. And just for the side note, because my friends who hooked me on it would say just watch the first 5 seasons and then make up your mind about the rest. But just the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan warning. I watched the first 19 episodes, and that still wasn't the first season, and I gave up on it after that. I thought 19 episodes of something, but everybody loves it, so I didn't stick it out long enough. It's one of those things.
Yeah, well, that's the issue with CW shows. It's like 26 episodes a season or whatnot.
That's the old days. That's what TV seasons used to be. Now we get new episodes and it's a season. It's done.
Yeah.
But
no. But it was just great, and I'm so glad. Personally speaking, I'm so glad to see more of Axel's. It was such a great. It was such a great book, and I was just like, this idea is so fucking good. And just reading it, I was like, man, let's go. Issue 3, let's go.
Well, let's get issue 2 out there. Let me do a little preamble on it, because I don't know that, everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. So just so folks have a grounding as we kind of maybe dig a little deeper into this particular hell. Axel's Infernal will be a 5-issue series. And that's the goal for it. But it's the story of Percy Cross, who's a bit of a drifter, a bit of a grifter. She's not a very good person when we first meet her, but she's going to get shanghaied into something called the Underworld Transportation Authority and become a co-driver, a trucker, along with a veteran driver named Virgil Shift. And what the Underworld Transportation Authority does is they deliver different parts of hells, plural, to Earth, because the conceit is that there is not just one hell, Dante's Inferno, Satan, that sort of thing. Every culture, in fact, does have a hell. Like there's an Aztec hell, there's an Egyptian hell, there's a Mesopotamian hell, there's a Japanese hell, all with their own mythologies, all with their own demons, all with their own sufferings and such. There's a Barker hell somewhere, but we're not going to touch that IP. But there's a belief system, behind them. If you believe in that hell, you're a big dog, right? Dante's Inferno, runs the mall, down there. But if you're less known, you're slipping into oblivion. So what those hells want to do is they want to get those pieces of themselves to Earth so that people will believe in them more. The more they believe in hell, the more metaphysical energy they have. So these truckers have been ganged into service. There's also a maritime division and an aircraft delivery division. We don't get into those as much, but we touch on them. But these guys have to deliver hell, and supposedly after time, they could be free of their servitude. But since they work for that guy that we're seeing there with the flaming head, who is Necro's Terminal, the chief dispatcher for North America, the chances of them getting out of this are slim and none. But that's Percy's mission, is to get herself the hell out of this and hopefully be a redeemed character in the course of this story, to some degree. And it's a big world. The reason we embraced finally doing it, it's something Carl Waller, who's the penciler and inker on this, came up with the conceit a long time ago. But it expands out actually beyond this storyline to many short stories, to other big stories. And there's an ultimate conclusion. I know where this goes. I know where this ends, which is pretty cool. And so we want to, very much bring this to life in any way possible. And so that's what we've been talking about, kids, just so everybody listening and watching knows. Did I do that justice?
Yeah.
For those who've read,
Wonderful. Couldn't have done better.
It's almost like I work on it,
Yeah.
What I really enjoyed about this, and we're seeing some of the pictures here, some of the images. We got to read the script because we're special, and we're happy about it. And I love how Percy went from being kind of this tough gal to Necros just put her in her place, hard. He just dropped this, you expect the like sassy heroine who goes through and does everything, and I'm a tough gal to come through. And no. Oh, you didn't do that at all. And I was so happy to see that not turn into a trope, for her to actually be humanized immediately when she gets into this. And that was wonderful.
That's good, and it's really kind of hello, Corpse Garden. It's important for the story, I think. And I'd said to Carl, while we wish we'd done the story maybe a long time ago, I think I would have approached this much differently, maybe with more of those tropes in mind, Carrie, if I had done it at that point in time. And this allowed itself to kind of come to life and bring itself along. And because Percy is such a wise ass character, and she's got sarcasm, and she's got grit and self-service to herself as she goes through it. It needed that very hard moment, to turn the key on getting this started. So Necros, grabbing her and putting her what he puts her through, was sort of an organic but also very integral moment, to it.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when I was reading it, like I kind of imagined Virgil, and this is, I think, just because how it's written, and it's just so it felt very B movie ish to me. Good. In a way. I kind of imagined like Virgil in my head, like my mind casted like Virgil was being played by Kurt Russell, like around like Big Trouble in Little China. Especially, yeah. So I'm just imagining like Kurt Russell riding like the Pork Chop Express, but it's Sammy, and this whole thing, because I'm just Virgil is charming. He knows the score. He's charming. He clearly has some edge to him, which you probably revealed over time. But he's just got that. He's the perfect guide. It's just like, listen, kid, these are the rules. I don't like them much less than you, but let's just make the best of it and maybe pick an apple pie up on the way. Okay? I just,
right.
Just like, listen, shit sucks. Could be worse, but then again, we have gas in the tank. Cigarettes, and probably you might have some fun along the way. So,
gas and a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah. But it's just, it was just so fun, just kind of just seeing more of the world that you and your collaborator are just working on. And like I said, I'm looking forward to more. That's my 2 cents.
No, well, listen, I mean, you guys are getting first exposure to that, and that's very encouraging to me to hear, because this is a very insular world that has not really been shared widely, right? Obviously, people back the first issue or have picked up copies. For me, it may be a convention. They've been exposed to it, and you get reactions in that way. But especially the second issue, which really gets into the mechanics of how hell works, or how these hells work, and how the UTA, the Underworld Transportation Authority, works. Really, I think brings it to life, and I think the work that Carl's done is extremely powerful. He's done a really great job, like hitting so many notes and playing off the weirdness, the fun of it in some cases, but then the ferocity, of things as well. So it hits in the right ways. So it's good to hear that we're not just fooling ourselves. We want to fool you too. I guess
it's fabulous. The scene when they're like when Virgil's eating pie, Percy's what the fucking, and just being dropped into like, he made this little diorama out of like condiments and stuff to be like, and these are the different hells, and this is how it works, and everything sucks, and you're in it now. So you either follow or you're out, and it's like,
right.
Whoa, okay.
Yep.
I was just having a day, and the brutality, and folks, okay, you know me. I'm into the horror. I'm into I'm constantly praising Philip Kennedy Johnson on like he's basically been pushing Nick Klein to make every single transformation of the Incredible Hulk into a more and more and more horrifying thing, right? But the absolute brutality that is used to bring Percy like into understanding that no, this isn't just something you can walk away from, that she's not just having a bad day or
Right.
can sneak out on her charisma. Is I can't wait to see it. Like, that's horrible to say almost. Then again, I'm the person who just a couple days ago my thing was popping up with like, oh yeah, your photos on this day, and they're like autopsy photos from Jack the Ripper. But
there you go.
There you go.
you know, like, oh, that's Catherine Eddowes. I would recognize her cuts anywhere. But yeah, you know, that everybody knows me. Well, they should.
Yeah, they should.
I'm fun.
And they should fear you. I mean, what? No.
Probably, yeah, but no, it's beautiful, everything that you have going, and the way that like you were talking last. It's been like a year, because I just saw you like within the past week, as a year ago we had you on.
Well, that's good. Time compresses in a good way that way. That's perfect.
Yeah, but we were talking about that big splash page that you had described initially to Carl, and it was like, basically encompass every single hell you possibly can into this, and he kind of twisted it a little different way, but it turned out okay, and it looks like you guys have a really good working relationship now with how the art is going, based on the descriptions of things and his style, and you have.
Absolutely. I mean, that was you know, and that's, you know, that's, I think, a good example, that first issue, and folks can get the first issue if you've missed it as part of, you know, one of the offerings or rewards, you know, and such, with this new campaign when it launches. And right now we are in pre-launch. We'd love people just to go to that URL that you've seen on screen, or it will be in the show notes or wherever. You know, it's if you go to axelsinfernal.com or tinyurl.com/axelsinfernal, it will get you there to the pre-launch. You know, you're not committing to anything yet. You're just letting me know, letting Carl know you're digging this. You're maybe you're going to get behind this when we do launch, hopefully soon. But that spread, you know, was really interesting, because Carl had basically vapor locked himself off, because it was such a big deal. Like, that was, you know, that was the big expanse. That was the real money shot, if you will, for the issue, that we were finally saying, this isn't just bad news. This is bad news, all capitals. And he had tightened himself off, that he didn't let himself go loose. It's a bit what you were saying at the beginning, Drew. You know, he was second guessing everything. You know, so the first version of that spread was perfectly serviceable, but it was not the book. You know, it was like, oh, it's a truck and there's hell stuff, and it was like, but it felt very limited and very ordinary. So when he sent it to me, I was like, well, how do I get him going on this? And so I had to, you know, I said, well, I saw the spread, and then his first words were, it sucks. I said, well, then what the fuck did you send it to me for? You know, it's like, go ahead, Carrie.
I was just gonna say, like, notes. Like, this is all I came up with. Give me notes. Tell me how to expand. I guess would be what I would. Yeah.
But it was him. He knew it wasn't what it should be. You know, it wasn't me being judgy and being like in control. Like, you know, it was.
Yeah.
He knew it wasn't what it had to be, but he chose to kind of let himself get restricted. And then, you know, I rewrote the spread to open it up. You know, like to add more detail, throw more things there. You know, at first I kind of like been narrow in it to try to give him as much license as possible, but instead then I fire hosed a little bit of what it could be, and then he went to town, and that was, you know, him sort of taking off the blinders and the restrictions and just letting it flow for himself. And then when he sent it to me the second time, I was like, well, welcome back to the book, Carl. You know, again, that's not a negative on Carl in any way, shape, or form. He's doing, you know, yeoman's work, but it's sometimes you can second guess yourself out of stuff.
Right.
And it just shows what a great relationship you have with your artists, that they're willing to be like, I'm stuck. This is what I got. This is best I can do. Let me know. And you can tell them. It's shown. Yeah. There, you know, a lot of times it's like, oh, we don't have time. Somebody's on a schedule, got to do this. And it's done, you know?
Right. But you should never be, and Carl sometimes has, other people sometimes have. I guess sometimes I have too. If you're collaborating with somebody, you have to have that open exchange, because you will always get stuck, right? You're always going to get stuck in something, and you need to use that partnership to draw like something else out. I don't know where to go with this. I don't know what to do with this. And sometimes that person will push in the right direction or validate something that you bring up. Like, this doesn't feel right to me. You're right, it doesn't feel right. So fix it.
What can I do to show you what I think? Okay,
Yeah.
here's what I think you should do.
Yeah.
Back and forth are good.
Right.
Now, I know the time frame isn't set in stone, but what are you looking at for optimal time frame?
To launch it, to actually go to launch, Leo. I mean, I would have liked to have launched it by now, I'll be quite honest with you. And I had said to Carrie, when we started talking about the show and coming on, we made it over the funding line on issue 1, but just barely. And I had launched it. We had launched it, with about 50 people sort of signed up in pre-launch, and so I'd like more numbers. But on the other hand, I'm sort of starting to feel like, all right, at what point does this just become like it's just hanging out there? So the funding number is going to be lower than the first one was, probably by quite a bit. So we're more likely to fund, and then once you fund, Kickstarter will push you up in the algorithm a bit more. So I'm trying to balance that out, but ideally I'd like to do something within the next month and a half or 2 months, at the most, just to kind of get this beast going.
Nice.
And as far as what you have to do, it's already pretty much ready to go, isn't it? Are you just waiting?
Yeah, I mean, it's all. Carl has totally finished it. It's totally illustrated from a black and white point of view. He's actually jumped ahead and had Wes Wong, who's the colorist, color about, I think, 8 to 10 pages. So it's almost halfway colored. Wes is very fast. That's not an issue. And then Pat Brousseau, who's our letterer, has indicated his availability. He's got other assignments, but he can juggle things, and that's not going to delay it. So we are, for all intents and purposes, done with the creative. So no one's going to have to worry about, well, will this book be done? It's only a matter of execution, and by that I mean printing. And we used a good printer last time. Now with tariffs and whatever the hell else is going on with the world, printing costs are going to be different, weird, but we'll figure that out, and then be able to fulfill. And I'm looking at a couple of different reward things as well, which I'll poll this group here. We've got what I would expect to be the typical things: the book, obviously, the art, the script with the book. But somebody suggested like trading cards, and maybe metal trading cards. Is that anything that's like an interesting sort of reward, type of thing, or is that just this other guy feeding me what he likes?
Okay. I cover the crowdfunding segment here, and I will introduce you at some point to Carissa Grant, who I'm showing her stuff off tonight. She has like 103 add-ons to her current 47 tier rewards Kickstarter, because she has plushies and stickers and magnets and metal pins and metal cards and metal covers and neon metal covers and stuff for every single thing. She has coins. She has anything. Like she has, Leo, you need to get, by the way, there's a giant, like, huggable Sasquatch figure that she has.
Oh,
like a Bigfoot, yeah. But she puts out the most add-ons and stuff. And yes, I do have metal trading cards. And I do have regular trading cards. I prefer the metal because obviously they aren't going to break or bend or get snagged or anything. It depends on how much you're going to charge for them, or if you're making them something that comes as a stretch goal that some people will get, because it's like with Carissa, I'm building when I get a house, she gets a room of all of the stuff that I bought from this woman.
Yep.
But but it's like I'm into her comics, so I want to have those things. If people put out, I notice for a lot of the really big comics, it's something that some people will put out trading cards. I don't notice the metal as much. Smaller indie companies do metal more, and it is a worthwhile value, but you need to make sure that it's on what your people want. Like offer it as an add-on, and then maybe in the next campaign, like have regular trading cards and metal ones, see which one goes better, and then on the next campaign, maybe make those part of a stretch goal type of thing.
Right. Right. Oh, good suggestion. Yeah.
Would be an indication for me, because you need to find people that they're very cool. Like it is really cool to get those metal trading cards. So it is something that's cool, but they're made of metal, so they're expensive to print. That's the one downside to it.
And then it increases your shipping costs because they're heavier and so forth.
Well,
But
you know what you can do though also is like for the trading cards, definitely, I love them for the art. Like Terrificon's doing special trading cards this year for their event. I already pre-ordered a bunch. But yes, I did, Drew.
I did too. He's not alone. He ordered more than.
But the metal ones, I mean, it's tough to see the art on them. So maybe, think about, how the metal could be used as like a storytelling element or something like that. But I would say, if you come up with a cool design, have it as like a chase, like, throw them in so many packs.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's so it's almost like, not exclusive, but like, it's like a little bit of a buy 3 packs. You're more likely to get one of these special like cards or something like that.
Or make little like enamel or metal pins are always good, because you can get those out. Those I think usually people charge only like $5 for, so they must be making at least back what they're charging for them. Or magnet stickers. Stickers, it is a weird thing, but I like them for like to put on my laptop and stuff, and people will do that.
Stickers are easy. The pins, I love pins. Bookmarks. Pins are cool,
great if you're making a jacket or patches.
But they're tough to package with stuff because they can damage, the odd shape can put an indentation in, say, a poster or piece of artwork or the comic itself. So you have to be careful about the way you're packaging it. So
and you use Gemini mailers for the books, right?
I did the first time. I would continue to do that. It's just better. I think people should get their money's worth and sort of feel like we've taken some care in packaging it up and putting it together.
Oh, I love those, because then when I get them in, I can save them, and then if I have anything I'm sending somebody else, I have this it's they're perfect for remailing. I was gonna be like, I have these to show you guys if you don't know what a Gemini mailer is, but I moved them all over there. So but they're very perfect.
They're high quality mailers. They're very protective. So folks, if you end up backing us, you will get your comic and goodies in a Gemini mailer, which is perfect not only for receiving but also for saving and, as Carrie said, sending on the next one. My wife tried to throw some of mine out that I had gotten from some Kickstarter things I had backed. I was like, no, don't do that. It's just a box.
I need those.
I recently threw a bunch away, and I know I should, but trying to declutter a bit. So
well, that's an admirable goal.
One other thing that I suggest that I personally just love it, and I know that I can do it at home myself, and you're doing this. Is this a normal sized comic? I can't remember if it's.
It's the size of a current comic, 6.2 something, and by 9 point whatever.
Do you bag and board when you send them? I can't remember. I got the last one. I just can't remember.
I try to make it like, again, what should people, when you're doing your own comic and you're doing it through Kickstarter, you can't price it, at $3.99 or $4.99. You've got to like increase the price. So I think the individual issues end up being, I think last time it might have been $15, almost, but it is sort of.
But it was gorgeous.
Right. But I want to make sure people are getting, feeling like you're getting a premium package and experience, with what they're getting. And we did high end, we did nice covers, we did nice stock, we did nice printing. We went back to the printer a couple of times to make sure, some errors, were that other people might not have noticed, were corrected. You put out the product that you you want to receive, right? I mean, that's the care you try to put in, because I think ultimately crowdfunding like this, at its most crass, I'm just asking you to buy my comic, which I am. Let's be honest. But I mean, on the other hand, you know, I'm asking you to invest in building this world with us. And that's something I think that is that in that co-conspirator sort of way, you want people again to feel like they're getting something for what they're putting in.
Well, also it's something that you've already invested in. You know, so many Kickstarters, you're worried about, well, will they finish? You know, the book isn't even written yet, or
Right.
they're looking for an artist. You know, it's you know, you with your stuff, it's already just about ready to go. You know, which
Yeah,
is
no, thank
takes
you,
the worry
Leo. Yeah, that is a big point. I mean, the first one when we launched it, it was all done. Thank you very much, Wolf. I would hope you check it out and let me know what you think of it.
Yeah.
You know, that was all done when we launched the campaign. The whole thing was done. Like, it was only really waiting for, like, you know, like, give us the money so we could print it and pay Wes and Pat. And we had already paid Wes and Pat. You know, we were kind of recouping our costs on that, actually. So
I think
this
it's
one is, there you go. Shut up and fund this Kickstarter. Exactly. Like, yeah, what more do you want? We're not funding yet again. I'm looking for some, you know, interest, but hopefully we'll have that funding going very soon. But yeah, there's no risk that this is not a comic that will not happen. I was talking to a retailer, a well-known retailer, as a matter of fact, and you know, he was saying he was really down on Kickstarter comics because he had been burned, you know, a number of times by backing things, and then it just never happened, you know. So I sent him mine. I said, well, I did it, you know, so back my next one. But he didn't get back to me.
You know, and it's weird. Like I back a lot of kicks. I'm one of the like big backer people, even though I'm on a very limited income. But I try to, you know, even if I can only get like a digital thing or something, I try to help back.
Sure.
And I'm building my next apartment out of, you know, Kickstarter boxes. As
Gemini boxes, right? Yeah.
They're very sturdy.
Yeah.
But you get these wonderful things in the Gemini boxes, and you get like yours are bagged and board. Some aren't. You know, it depends on what you get. Some are wrapped in tissue paper or different things. But then I've gone ahead also and ordered a comic from like the site where I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't want to. I don't want to offend anyone. But
Okay.
a very specific comic book. It was like a comic book made for an ongoing show type of thing, and written by a great comic author, done by some great artists. It was shipped from their site, and it was in like a crappy foldable thing. It was bent, like with visible bends in it, and like the edges were kind of like the corner, the top,
right.
The spinal edges were like frayed a little bit and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I spent like $15 to get this. And if I spend the same amount on some other people's Kickstarters, I get a book in good condition and better quality than this, and a couple extras, you know, like I get a PDF of it as well. And I get these things. And so I'm always telling people, like, go check out the Kickstarters, man, because it helps make a dream happen. And everything that you do, once it goes beyond funding, it just helps make the book better. You know, and you get better things off, like you in particular. If there's somebody who's sending out things that are crap, I'm not going to like go talk about it, but I'm not going to advertise for them either. You know, so
you get out of it what you put into it. And I've tried to back, you know, comics, and I have backed comics. You know, they're like, wow, I'm jazzed about this, and some are extraordinary. You know, the packaging. I did literally get a comic wrapped in tissue paper, in addition to, you know, bagged and boarded, and it was lovely. It was like an experience, like opening it up. It was just they had a handwritten card inside, and you know, it made me feel like cheap and sleazy. I didn't do that, and you know, it was that nice additional effect, you know, and connection, you know, to the creator, you know, and in that way. So I was very pleased to have done that.
It's always nice to have one thing at least in your Kickstarter that they can only get through there. So
Right.
that, like, okay, you can later go on and purchase the comic. Like, if it gets big, like comic book companies can order huge amounts of Axel's Infernal, but there has to be something that they can only get through the Kickstarter that makes it like, okay, I ordered it, and you can go back and order, sometimes on things, but it's just like, well, I pledged for it here, so I got this, and I'm one of only this many people who is able to get it.
Who got that?
So
So what's
neener,
your
neener,
ideal, if I was to add a reward like that, Carrie, and Drew and Leo, what would be, notwithstanding, the total Pornhub, not safe for work covers, which seem to be so, in effect, what would be like a reward that I should add to this? That is, wow, I gotta have that. I gotta feel good about wanting to throw this into my tier or whatever.
Well, it's definitely, we're hitting the 90s again. It's I would say, what's big right now is like a variant cover. Get
Yeah,
a get a
okay.
a artist come in just to do a one-time special variant.
Right. Yep. No, we did that first time around. And I'm definitely planning on doing that again. But that's a great reminder. Cool.
I would say, and this is, you already do scripts, but
Mhm.
having kind of it including in it some of the art and the back and forth, like maybe even just in a digital format, because
Yeah.
sending that out would be ridiculous. But having a digital format of some of the back and forth and the changes that were made, and
Mhm.
just so you can see the creation as it is being created, would
Yeah.
be a neat add-on to have. Like, you can only get you can put it on an add-on, or add it in a, like, if you buy a certain tier that has all these different things, you get that's part of it included. But having that, like, exchange, that so that you're really feeling like you're part of
Mhm.
the creation process would be very fun for me.
That would be cool. I did do that on the first one. I'm surprised you missed that, but I will do that again,
I,
definitely. That was a little
I will
more
have to
work
go
to put
back and
together, but I'm happy to send you one. So I will take care of
okay.
finding that for you. But
Oh boy.
Oh,
you get a special bonus for the show.
Oh man,
thank you.
Carrie, look at you. But listen, Dan, whatever you're going to do is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think again, I myself can't really speak to it, but I mean, if Carrie thinks it's a good idea, I'm like, okay, well, Carrie knows Kickstarter. She's our Kickstarter queen. She knows
Wonderful.
so much. She has a segment now where she advertises them for the show. So whatever you do, just again, what thing I've always go for, if I think it's cool, probably someone else might.
That's good.
So
Oh, that's good. I mean, listen, if and I,
She,
we've gone back and forth. If it sucked, I'd want to hear that too. Honestly.
yeah, no. Listen? Why would we lie? You've been nothing great to us. Why would we lie? That's just dumb. No.
We'll tear you down.
T-shirts are
Are
great
they?
too.
Are they?
Oh my
Okay.
God, I collect so. I'm gonna take it one of these days. I have to go, like, after I have laundry day. I'm gonna have, like, a series of photographs on my Facebook page, because I still Facebook, because yeah, and there's gonna be like 50 black t-shirts and like 4 heather gray ones that are going to show my entire, like, comic book and horror and death metal t-shirts that I
Right.
own
Right.
and stuff. So I love collecting t-shirts. Like, I if there's a t-shirt and the book combo, like, do you, like, okay, you buy
Yeah.
the book and the shirt and you get a PDF for free, and the shirt's available over here by itself for whatever is an add-on. I'm buying that combo. You just have to make sure that the shirts can be larger sized, because sometimes it costs more to make a shirt a slightly larger size, but people who only go up to X large are forgetting America exists,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that, like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
many
Yeah.
of us are not just an extra large or more,
Right.
they need.
Right. Give yourself some
And
options. Yeah. Totally.
Exactly.
yeah, and you can send those out. You can order those, like, through tons of different places. Like, you can do TeePublic, so it's made to order, and you just get them
Yeah.
from them and send them on to your people. And
Right.
you might not make a huge amount of profit from it. You can get better ones if you don't do public as far as profit goes, but it's something else that grabs attention, and then somebody's walking around advertising you.
Totally.
Whenever I go to Comic Cons, I'm wearing a shirt that advertises somebody or some show or some comic. Whenever I'm anywhere, I'm always doing, like right now, we're in Rough House Publishing. Yay!
There you go.
There you go.
No, it's fabulous.
Well, before we kind of come to the end,
we need to go to Risk.
Yeah, that's what. Thank you, Karen. I was going to get to that.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of books that are push to the story, Risk was a fantastic issue one. Absolutely, really great to read. And like, how did that come up? Just like, what was the idea for it?
I love this. I love the fact that you said it's a good read, because again, insular stuff, and you're like, was anybody gonna like this damn thing? This was a great summer for me, because this was the summer that C.B. Cebulski came up to me at Terrificon and it said, "Do you want to do Black Armor? What would become Black Armor?" And then a short time after that, Dimitrios Zaharakis, who is the publisher and editor of Black Box Comics, came up and said, "Hey, remember me?" Graciously, because I had sadly ghosted this guy several years before when I was heavily into just my advertising work, and he had been starting Black Box. His first comic, he had recruited Scott McDaniel. Dimitrios was a big fan of the Fall from Grace work we had done. He had recruited Scott for a book and wanted to recruit me. And I sort of listened to what he had to say, and it was kind of an oddball idea. It was like, it's something about a psychologist, he's got an edge on people, and he does something. And I was like, well, that's not what I would expect to be like a jumping off point for a book. And I did do some research, and I got some psychology books, and but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Not because it wasn't really a good angle. It was just because my headspace was occupied by what I was doing. I was too focused on that, frankly. But fortunately, Dimitrios was a broader based character and came back, when we saw each other in person at the show, and said, "Hey, I've got something new in mind. Would you be interested?" So fortunately, my head was clearer. And his pitch was, I want to do a book about a bookie, an odds maker, right? Which is like, okay, where are you going with this? I've recognized his sort of geniuses, like just oddball ideas. And she's got some kind of telepathic power or whatever, and she can see, into people's minds. So she's always got the edge on them in terms of odds. And she's got a heart of gold, but she's a little bit seedy, and she's going to get pulled into some kind of heist, and the heist is going to go wrong, and hijinks ensue. That was kind of like his angle. And I was like, well, let me think about that for a while. And a while wasn't that long. It was probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks later, that this had morphed in my mind to, well, what if we push this into the future? What if it's this kind of cyber, thriller or whatever? What if instead of telepathic powers, she's got some kind of AI instance in her head that lets her see the angles and the strategies? And what if that has come about because there was this horrible instance in the world, which we call the melt, where a bacteria gets released from the Arctic, and it's meant to solve climate crisis, and instead causes this ancient bacteria to really melt people. It's like a sort of a flesh-eating disease. And the only way people can sort of recover their mobility and some of their features, in fact, is by grabbing off-the-shelf technology, which in the future is kind of, everything's got a little bit of AI in it. So, you grab an off-the-shelf appliance and you turn it into a new arm. It's a bit shoddy. It's a bit makerspace hacked together, but it gives you what you need back. Well, Ruby Chance, our main character, that bookie, she gets this whole extra boost, this AI in her head that actually talks to her, which is the Risk persona. So all this just kind of came off of that springboard that Dimitrios had. And why does it come off in that way? I don't know. It just starts springboarding out. And while it was a much different idea that he had originally put forward, he embraced it. He said, "We're not doing anything else like this. Let's run with this." And in fact, while this property is owned by Black Box, I'm the co-creator on it. So, this has something I have a little bit of a stake in, which is nice, to have. And it's just been this fun ride. And it's been this sort of morphing in its own way, because in my original writing, and I think in the original way that Demetrios and I had thought about it, we were saying this is really gritty. We don't want anybody to talk about this like it's a cyber book. But Mannix Francisco, the artist, made it look like this incredible cyber book. It's super sleek. It's dystopian. The future's got a lot of problems, but he gave it this whole sheen that was not what I expected. But once you sort of saw it, you kind of you learn to embrace it. You just go, let's go with it. Let's run with it. It actually kind of gives some aspects of the story a little bit more of a hopeful spin, which I quite enjoy now. And that's, again, a thing I like about the comics process so much, is you get that back and forth you don't always expect. So this first issue is, the introduction of everything. We get the whole sense of what's going on. And from this point forward, over the 5 issues this series will run, we'll learn more about the world, more about what Ruby's relationship is with Risk, and what what she can do with that power, as it were, inside her head.
So Ruby, okay, the character we're seeing here, the female, is she is pretty much the main character, and she has with. Okay, so she works for. They have the company that she does all of her booking through and creates the odds for is also called Risk, but the AI inside of her head is Risk as well.
Right. Because what we'll find out is, before the melt happened, before that incident happened, when the world was still in one piece, as it were, Ruby had been developing an algorithm to predict strategies. So she was starting her own kind of software company, and the algorithm was called Risk, and she was planning to sell it to businesses and worldwide organizations, and make a mint from them licensing, her very smart, very predictive algorithm. So she had created this, this whole thing. And when the world went to shit, and she had to get these augments, her own arm had to be replaced, part of her face had to be replaced, a little bit of her torso, is replaced. You see her full frame. For some reason, that activated this algorithm that was in her brain, and then she just continued this moving forward. She had been, as we'll discover throughout the course of the series, she had been an odds maker before, but on her own, sort of like a side business. It was a way to kind of make some buck, and that was financing her software company, and that was her plan to kind of take over the world, in a way. But so she had that edge, but now when the world fell apart, she couldn't depend on the business world anymore. Everything was going to shit. So she could no longer sell Risk. She could no longer pursue those goals. So she had to fall back on this odds making to make a buck in this very troubled world. So she has a crew of odds makers in this Risk operation. But what nobody else knows, and makes her seemingly unique, is that her AI isn't just, well, the arm functions or the leg functions or my jaw functions or whatever. She's got a persona inside her head that gives her an ability, again, to see 10 strategic angles on any situation and really predict the odds, but also gives her some control over her autonomic body functions. So she can control how fast her heart beats, how much oxygen she needs to take in, what her adrenaline levels are, and so forth. So she can physically get a little bit of an edge on the situation as well. And that will itself also evolve over time and the story.
Leo, can you go back a couple of pages real quick? I'll tell you when to stop. There's one where she's looking in here. Okay, this might not be exactly the thing. It's showing the different. Oh, maybe it's further, but okay. In any case, there's the vision of Ruby as she looked before she became Risk, or before Risk was added to her. And at some point, she's like looking in a mirror reflection of herself, and she's like, and the Risk part is talking to Ruby with, I don't know who that is. And it's like,
Right.
oh, this was before you. So they have completely separate sets of memories up until Risk was developed. So, or Risk was, I suppose it would be more initiated or started, put online. So does Risk, it sounds like it's going to be a very complicated relationship. Like Risk is just like, okay, I'm here and this is how life goes now. But Ruby still has the like, I had an entire life before
Oh
this
yeah.
happened.
Right.
So
Absolutely. And so no, that's a great observation, Carrie. And hopefully I've threaded that needle well. I think I have, but Risk exists in Ruby's head, and Risk is her advisor, and Risk is her, whatever, concierge, and her, her again, her strategic edge. And Ruby will ask, in the dialogue between them, what's the situation here? What are we looking at? And Risk can, say, well, I noticed in this scene, for example, the engine's sputtering, you know, uh, 2 degrees too hot. That means that particular motorcycle in this race is going to fail, or that guy's twitching. He's hopped up on whatever. He's probably not the best driver to put the bet on, that sort of thing. But they don't exist in each other's mind. They're not a fusion. So for Risk, this is what she was made to do, right? She was made to predict odds. She was made to sort of see the situations and advise on them. That's what the algorithm that birthed her, that initiated her, was always there. But for Ruby, it's a voice in her head. It's like it's now I have to occupy my space with this thing that's always there. And yes, it's doing good for me. It's helping my business run. It's helping me act like I'm the supreme odds maker, even though I was pretty good before. Now I'm, 1,000 times better, and nobody knows why. But Ruby also knows on her own, this is not the thing to let out, right? This is not the thing to let people know. Oh, hey, I've got a super powered, advisor in my head, because in this broken world, people will take advantage of it, and that's just simply knowing that Ruby is so good at what she does is what's going to draw, our antagonist to her, because he's going to want to recruit her to advise on his
and
nefarious plan.
the yet to be named the client who is
Right.
testing her as we go. And
Yes.
another thing I wanted to ask you, are we going to see more, because the melt happened and destroyed people, and this is why
Yeah.
a lot of them have the steampunk / cyber upgrade things going on.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people that are just can't afford to have any upgrades done to them. So are we going to see more of the people who the melted that weren't able to upgrade? Is that going to be like that chunk of society that lives on the outside of things? Is that going to be relevant to the rest of the story? Because it's
Did I send
horrific
you?
that
Did I send you all the scripts? It's like by accident. No, yeah, it's a great.
no,
No,
I'm just
it's a primo question, and I'm glad you're asking it, because it sort of says to me, you're intrigued by the
it
world a little
excites
bit.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. In fact, in the next issue, or I believe it's the next issue, 3 at the most, we're going to meet Ruby's mentor. The one who sort of taught her all about odds making before the melt. And that particular person, that particular character, was either too far gone in the melt, or couldn't afford it, as you said, in any way, shape, or form. And so we're going to meet her, and we're going to understand there's a whole sub society of the melted, who never could get the fixes or didn't get the fixes in time. And so they sort of exist on the outskirts of this society where, they're disfigured, they're disabled. But because of what this person means to Ruby, she still keeps a relationship up and, will in fact draw some, good counsel from that person, that woman, when they meet again in the course of the story.
Very cool.
Yeah,
That excites me too, because I don't just want to see like this happened, everything was sad. Now we're gonna go to the happy people. I like having the like this
it's
affected
not
the
a
whole world. You gotta remember it. So I
right,
love
right,
that.
and in fact, it's only if you have a kid, of like probably I think in our timeline this happened like 7 years ago or something, and so if a child has been born since then, those children will be whole, but everybody else is
Oh,
is damaged goods, because of what happened. Everybody was affected in one form or another. They were either completely wiped out, completely, so melted as it were that they died, or they were disfigured and couldn't be fixed, or they were disfigured and were able to find, some ability to get something stitched into their bodies, to kind of go on.
oh, so then
As
it
most
brings up the question, if you were born okay after the fix, but you have the chance to upgrade yourself better than human, are you going to go ahead and do that? Are parents going to do that with their children? Obviously, they probably have to wait until they've aged to the point where they're done growing, but
right,
just
right.
throwing that at you. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's not something we touch on. I mean, we touch on the idea that while the augments or replacements were just meant to simply stabilize and get people mobile, right? Like I need to walk, I need to be able to grab things, I need to see, I need to have a lower jaw, or whatever. That was the initial instance, but we do touch upon the idea that people, once they realized they could get these augments, well, maybe they wanted to pay extra for upgrades, right? Maybe I want the legs that run a little faster. Maybe I want the arm that can punch through, walls or something like that. So that's a choice that then people, start to make, because now they've got these replacement parts anyway. I may as well have the tougher one or the faster one, which creates, its own inequity. Now the kids thing, I mean, none of these things are meant to be pretty. Even Mal Korvax, who is the client, the antagonist, he's part of like an elite group. He's, what we call the primes, the oligarchs, the people who still have money even in this broken world. His augments are fancier and slicker, and so are his contemporaries. But, it's still screwed up, right? I'd rather have my eyes than have like this Cylon, a fixture to me. No matter how sleek it looks, it's still,
Yeah.
an intrusion on myself.
Unless
Yeah.
you're Geordie LaForge, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then he scrapped his. He's like, I don't need these anyway. Just go with my super all.
Banana clips. I broke so
Right.
many of those with this hair. It was like click and it break. Okay,
And it breaks.
done.
There you go.
So
But-
Drew liked it. Did you like it, Carrie? I mean, I take it you did. You got some digging into it. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, I'm ready to like. I have scripts I'm going to start pitching you soon on just random stuff, just because like I hope you'll listen.
Oh
You'd be
yeah,
like,
she has.
what the?
Yeah, and Dan, she has one that she's been working on for a while. That when she pulls off, it's going to be really great. I'm not going to lie. I'm
Awesome.
not trying to hype, but it's definitely something that she would be like, oh my god, I'm going to send it to Dan and send it. Just send it already. God, what's the worst he'll say? Is it needs work? God.
Yeah. I mean, my one rule, with people who, is respect. If you ask me for my opinion, I will give it to you. And I've been down the road where I've said that, and people actually don't want my opinion. They want.
The only reason you ask for someone's opinion is if you actually want to know it, and if you aren't doing what needs to be done, you need to know that you aren't doing what needs to be done.
Exactly.
You say that as a creative and mature person who wants to improve their craft. I cannot tell you the number of times, where somebody has said, well, I really like your thoughts on this, which really means you want me to praise it and
Right.
say, you're God's gift to writing or
That's
artwork or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and
I
the
would
minute-
I would much rather have notes back that are like, this doesn't work this way. This is how this would happen, and this wouldn't happen at all.
Because it's a
And then
right.
I'd be
sign of
like,
respect.
that makes you better. I mean, it makes you
Yeah.
better. I mean, the first, I may have said this before, and I apologize if I'm repeating my limited number of stories, but when I first wrote Axel's Infernal, the first proposal for it, I sent it to my very good friend Greg Wright, who's an accomplished creator in comics, in his own, and his first three reactions were, this is great. This should be an HBO series. Fuck you for coming up with this before I did. And then 3, stop trying to impress people with how fucking well read you are. Like just like that and written just like that. And that's a problem, right? Your things are out of order. You're burying your lead. Like he was ruthless, like in tearing it apart, like, yes, it has something good here, but it's like, and this doesn't work, 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 right? And that's what you have to be accepting of and want, because somebody who has a creative sensibilities that you trust is going to give that to you unabashed. But there are people who do not want to hear that. They want to hear, oh yeah, this is great. You know what you should just do? Change it to Baskerville instead of Times New Roman, and it'll be so much better, and that's all they want. And
I will tell you that.
and Baskerville is a better font than Times New Roman.
It is.
But you have to, you have to be. I mean, I consider myself a very tough critic of my own work, but I know once I give it to people, I was afraid to send Greg the actual written issues of Axel's, and he's read all 5 at this point, and because I was afraid he was going to say this really sucks, and if he said it really sucks, I would have to know it really sucks, there'd be no escaping that, like, and that was, but you have to be, and I know he would not sugarcoat it at all. You need somebody like that in your creative
Absolutely.
life, and you have to be accepting to that.
Well, no, what a great note to end on. So Dan, we've taken up you've more than enough of your time, so thank you so much for joining us.
Do the
But
spinny.
oh yeah, but Carrie, we're already running behind.
Well, give if you have a
There's-
second or
it's-
two to do the giveaways, do the giveaways.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
right. I'm sorry, I
yeah.
forgot. You're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
Carrie. Yeah, I'm sorry. My brain was like, that's me. I'm like, there's
Your
no
brain
big
was
deal.
on the maker's mark,
Yeah,
Clyde
damn,
May.
that whiskey,
Clyde,
man.
Clyde
I-
May is a great bourbon to try, by the way, if you guys are into bourbon.
What is it?
Clyde
Clive
May.
May?
Clyde.
Clyde
C-L-Y-
Clyde May.
C-L-Y-D-E, May, which is an Alabama bourbon, but I highly recommend it. A little bit different. Anyway.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, Carrie, let's do the thing then.
I'm getting there. I gotta pull up. It doesn't want to share that one, so I need to highlight it and go back.
Any questions from the groups while folks have been on while we were
got-
waiting, or?
If anybody is watching, please ask the questions now.
Present. It's just this thing where every now and then it doesn't really want to share. Like it says it does, but it doesn't.
It's lying. It's like life. It's
It
setting you up
is.
for disappointment. It's promising you things,
Yeah,
and then it's
it
like,
totally is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Leo knows what I'm talking about.
oh, Carrie's gone.
Oh,
gone
yeah, we just
silent.
lost your audio, Carrie.
Technology did not like her criticizing it. And
No.
stole her
Okay, am I
ability to
back?
speak.
Yeah, you're good.
You're back.
You got the upgrade.
Okay. What
Matrix
is going
4.0.
on?
Yep, she's melted.
Not now. Okay.
That's it. The story reality is hit too hard.
It is.
Your browser has blocked your screen. What? Share screen. Share screen. Okay, I'm just gonna have to read, and you guys are gonna have to trust me.
Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
And we trust you. We trust you.
Spin it.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that we are going to be giving away is a copy of Axel's Infernal #1.
Woohoo! Good one.
And that is going to.
I feel like we should do the.
That is going to Wolf Sensei, Wolf Dojo.
Excellent.
All
right.
Super. You want
All
to get
right.
out in the world? Now
Okay.
you are. Okay.
There you go.
Yes, now you get to find out. All right, so the next one is the Axel's Infernal prize pack, an autographed 11x17 print poster of the issue #1 cover, a holographic sticker of the logo, and an autographed copy of the #1 script. This is going to Tom Dog over at Brill Pro.
Nice.
Way to
Very
go,
good.
Tom
Congrats.
Dog.
All right.
All
Hey,
right.
Tom.
And next we have an autographed Daredevil Black Armor collection.
Wow.
And
I'm quite
man.
generous, I think.
yeah. Like I was looking all over that. I'm like, I'm gonna be hauling my stuff around to get that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and she froze.
She froze. She doesn't want to give it away. She's keeping it for herself.
Oh, sorry. She
And
froze.
it is.
You're good, Carrie.
Did
You're
I
back.
freeze?
Yeah,
Oh,
you froze.
okay. No,
It's
this
quite
is
dramatic.
the
that-
autographed copy of Street Riders, and that goes to Corpse Garden Chronicles.
Okay, we didn't hear Daredevil.
And
Yeah, who did the Daredevil?
oh, you didn't hear Daredevil?
No.
Nope.
Well, crap. Who did I say got?
Damn.
There. Okay. Who won? Wait. Okay. There. I'm trying to remember. Damn it. There was Jar won one. Okay. Ron won the first one.
Right. Tom
And
won the
then
second one.
Tom won the second one. Then Jar Jar won Daredevil.
Sweet.
Ah.
And then Corpse Garden Chronicles won the book, which works
All
out
right.
really well based on being an author. So
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. I will get all the info
Awesome.
from
Sorry
you
about-
guys, and no problem. I'll get those out to
Yeah.
folks. The Street Riders, just a heads up. I have a couple little things to do through the Amazon publishing system on that, so that might be a little bit of a wait, but not too long. So the other stuff, though, folks should get within a relatively short time. Okay.
And they know how that works. Yeah, I happen to know who Corpse Garden is, and yeah, we
Okay.
deal with
Good.
Amazon on a regular basis. So
Excellent.
Well,
yes.
Very cool.
What all do you have coming up in the future for, like, as far as cons go or signatures or anything?
Well, I've got there'll be 4 more issues of Risk. I mean, again, Risk #1 comes out tomorrow. If it's at your store, awesome. If it's not your store, tell them to order it. If you can't order it from your store for some reason, please go to blackboxcomics.net, and you will find it there on their homepage, and you can order at least 1 and 2 directly from Black Box and probably the subsequent ones. So please check it out. Leave a review there so we can sort of see what folks are thinking. I will be at Dragon Con, as Leo, had brought up at the beginning. That's in Labor Day. There may be some new shows coming up. If you follow my newsletter, storymaze.substack.com, which I'm actually writing again on a very regular basis, you'll find any upcoming appearances probably mentioned there, first, as well as if you follow me on social at DG Chichester, pretty much everywhere. I will be, I will be self-serving myself by shilling my appearances. And then from Black Box Comics, actually, probably toward the end of the year, there will be a second limited series in the sword and sorcery genre. So I'm switching gears as much as I can, and that's looking pretty phenomenal as well. So hopefully we'll be able to start talking about that one in short order.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Anything you need thrown up, we
Thank
will
you, guys. No,
advertise that shit out of it because we love it.
100%.
I will come back with guns blazing with a couple new things as soon as I got them going. And really, I cannot thank you enough. You guys are so enjoyable and very gracious in letting me come on here and talk
Please.
my talk.
Oh no, you listen. Come back anytime, please. Good luck to everything you're working on.
Thank you.
We will continue to keep plugging any projects you have because all the support. So just thank you again for your time. And like we've said before, we really hope to see you at a con we're all at because that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and ping Mitch again. Try to get myself back in Terrificon because I know you guys will be there.
Oh.
And so,
Yeah.
as long as
That
you
would
guys
be great.
Yeah.
thought I was dissing him by not appearing at his big Daredevil.
No.
We'll all poke him too and be like, "We want Dan. Come on, bring Dan."
Right.
Yeah, man.
Very cool. All right, folks. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and
You as well.
we'll be in touch. I'll get the information,
Absolutely.
Carrie, from you whenever you've got it with all the other winners and such.
Of course.
All right, I will get that sent out to you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. It was great
Thank
to
you.
have
All
you
right, guys.
again.
Toast.
Good night,
Toast.
sir. Toast.
All good.
See you,
Be
sir.
well.
That was awesome.
I
All right.
love him. I just
We know.
really love him. I know we talked a lot, but I love him.
We are
I
at the 2-hour mark. So do we want to rearrange some stuff? Drew?
No, let's honestly, let's just plow through the news. And Carrie doesn't have a lot of Kickstarters. The news is really short. I mean, Leo, if you want, I can do most of the news, pretty much. I mean, Carrie, I know you have yours. Leo, I can do the cheat issue if you want.
Oh, I already have that.
All right, just honestly, let's just go right into it. Just get right to it,
Well,
and
zoom,
right to
zoom.
Carrie, wrap it up. So zoom. So you know what time it is.
Yep. We'll go
Yeah.
right into it. Okay, so
Boom, let's rock.
where the hell is it? Where the hell is it?
It's the big red button.
Big red button.
Did I push?
Push the big red button.
Drew's News. Exciting tales, fresh comic views. In the pages, heroes fly, villains fly under the sky. From Gotham's dark to Metropolis views, we cover stories old and new. Drew's News, your daily source for comic clues. Join the fun, it's a heroic cruise in the world of Drew's comic news.
Leo, the other
Push
red
the wrong
button.
button.
Oh, the other.
This is why we don't have two red buttons next to each other.
You threw me off because you said news.
This is why we don't have
That's
two
why
red
I'm
buttons
here.
next to each other.
We're all good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
Drew, it's on
Let's
you.
rock and roll. All right,
So
cool.
very
Let's rock and roll.
watch with Drew. Let's go.
Okay,
Let's go.
cool.
Let's
Let's
rock
do it.
and roll.
Let's do it. All right. All right. So, as we
do
know, in June, we're going to have the first official crossover of the new Ultimate Universe, where we see the original, one of the original survivors from the first Ultimate Universe, Miles Morales, is coming to this new world, seeing what his old nemesis or enemy, the Maker, has done to this universe. So this book, written by Dennis Camp and Cody Ziegler, drawn by Jonas Scharf, we have all the variant covers here. So we have Kari Andrews, David Marquez, Francesco Mobile, and Kel Nugu. So again, look at all these. These are all gorgeous covers. That one's my favorite. I mean, it's just, look at that. It's just amazing. But this is the first official crossover between all 5 of the Ultimate current ongoing titles. So Spider-Man, Black Panther, X-Men, Ultimates, Ultimate Wolverine. Everybody's going to be a part of this. It's just going to be
This is
fantastic.
my favorite.
That is pretty
Spot.
great. It's not going to lie.
Ooh, and that's a
But,
foily.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, that's by Kel Nugu. So that's fantastic. But like I said, all these look amazing, and I'm so excited. You have a lot of people who worked on the original Ultimate Universe, did covers or did whatnot, like David Marquez, Sarah Pichelli, Kari Andrews. All of them worked on the original Ultimate in some way or another. So it's just really getting the band back together in some form or another. But check these out. Again, this is coming out in June. So please check this out and pre-order. So Leo, the next news story, I feel I'm sorry, but I know you're going to buy all of these covers. So super man.
I got that.
Yeah.
Good job, Leo.
Yeah. So the Summer of Superman. This is where we are. We already had the Summer of Superman special, which is already on the shelves if you missed it. We already know we got the new upcoming movie of James Gunn. So now somebody asked me this, and I just want to clarify with all of you. April 18th is Superman Day, but someone asked, what is Superman Day? So that is the 1938 publication date for the first ever Action Comics issue, was April 18th. So that's why it's Superman Day. So celebrating it, DC put together some of the best to do variant covers for some of Superman's upcoming stories that are all in the style of James Gunn's new Superman movie coming up this summer. So you got Nicholas Scott, Jim Lee, Dan Jurgens, Dan Mora, Jerry Ordway, Jorge Jimenez, Kevin McGuire, Frank Whiteley, just dropping gems. Or as I like to call it, the Leo Pond collection, because I guarantee this man's going to get every one of these covers.
Hell
am
yeah.
I wrong? Am I wrong? Look at these.
No, you're not wrong. I am going to order, yes. Okay, so where's the Frank Whiteley one? Is this Frank?
No, absolutely not.
This is Dan Mora.
Yeah, of course that's Dan Mora. That's obviously Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Or I think it's that one. That's Quitely. You can always tell because it's the way he draws bodies. Yep. Still great though. It's got that all-star Superman feel to it.
Yep. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, but the whole thing, I mean, you just what a top-notch amount of talent there. The Dan Jurgen. No, the Dan Mora.
Dan Mora.
Oh God. With Crypto, I mean, again, just
I had to highlight the pup, like Superman, whatever. Crypto's like
what Crypto? Yeah, we know, Carrie.
This movie is gonna be so friggin' good.
I know. If it isn't, oh my God, the world might break.
No,
but I'm not going to put that out there, Leo. I'm not going to put that out there.
Don't put it out there.
No, I'm not going to put that out there. So let's just jump straight to the news since we already had the intro for it. News in time. So there's not a lot of news, so very short. We're going to get right into it. So let me see what is newsin'. Newsies. Newsarama.
We each have our news for tonight. So
right, my turn. Back to the Ultimate Universe. So
yeah, you're Ultimate. Yay.
Yeah, I am. So this everything we see here is this summer we're going to see a lot of things in the Ultimate Universe is now at a crossroads. So as we know, we are counting down to the return of the Maker for just a few months. So all of these series are firing all cylinders. There's a lot going on, and on top of it, you already have going. Leo, I'm still talking. The Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion is already still going. So as you see there, we already saw issue 1. This is the cover for issue 2. That art by Sarah Pichelli, Dennis Camp, Cody Ziegler, and Jonas Scarf. So Miles and the Ultimates versus Black Panther. So Miles Morales is teaming up with fan favorite Ultimates team members Giant Man and the Wasp, but Black Panther, aka T'Challa, does not want the ultimate terrorist interlopers in Wakanda. Plus, we will find out the secret history of Janet Van Dyne. Super pumped for this. Again, this is the first time in our new Ultimate Universe that everybody's showing up in one book. So this could be great or it could be an absolute nightmare. Time will tell. So next we have Ultimate Black Panther 18, written by Brian Hill, art and cover by Stefano Caselli. Side note, I didn't say it before, Ultimate Incursion out July 9th. This is on July 16th. So betrayed by the Voodoo Khan. Despite their promises and prophecies, Voodoo Khan have positioned themselves against Black Panther and alongside his enemies. What secrets of the vibranium do Voodoo Khan have kept all this time? And now, without vibranium, without their insight, how can T'Challa defend himself against Mystic Mayhem? So, it's tough being Black Panther. Ultimates 14. Dennis Camp, Juan Figueri with Dyke Ron doing a totally awesome cover. Ultimate Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. The Ultimate's next mission is destroying one of the Hellfire Club's strongholds, but we'll find a pair of twins who are quite dangerous, complicating things. So, yeah, that's enough said there.
His face in that reminds me of, I can't pronounce it, Mr. Mixelpix.
Mr. Mixoplitic. Mr. Mixoplitic. It's Carrie, it's meant to be difficult.
Yes, he's got that kind of like sneery, veneer look to him.
Yeah, Carrie, there's a reason that people call him Mixie, because it's just so much easier. So, but yeah.
Different universe, but yeah.
Considering the interesting take that the previous Ultimate Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver had.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We're not going to go there.
I don't want to see this happening with that one.
No. Ultimate Spider-Man issue 19. Jonathan Hickman, Marco Cicchetto, three-way dance, all-out war. Kingpin versus Mr. Negative versus Mysterio, and Spider-Man as allies caught in the middle. Is the Sinister Six going to destroy New York before they destroy each other? Who knows? Read the book. On sale July 23rd, and Ultimates will be out on the 30th of July. So, again, this is still the gem of the book. Please read it. Ultimate Wolverine issue 7, Chris Condon, art by Alessandro Cappuccio, and the cover as well. So, in limbo, has opposition finally helped Logan regain his identity? But what lengths will Colossus Magic and Omega Red go to keep their prized weapon? Don't mix Ultimate Magic revealing the depth of her power. So, well, that's dangerous. That's on sale July 2nd. And then rounding it out, Ultimate X-Men 17, written and art by Peach Momoko. Operation Rescue Armor. Hisako's been missing, but Nico's undercover sleuthing finally tracks her down. But the Church of the Children of the Atom aren't going to give up armor without a fight. So what dangers await our new Ultimate X-Men in the astral plane? That's on sale July 16th. That's everything Ultimate-wise for July. So check it out, book ahead of time, and again, countdown till the return of the Maker. So that's all my news. Leo, tell us what's
Jeremy, I
coming up.
can't spell it either.
Okay, so I
no vowels.
No, Carrie.
So I get the fluff stories. So
you get the cheesecake.
You get
yeah. So Marvel brings back the legendary swimsuit special.
You get Batman.
I do. I appreciate that. So after a nearly 30-year absence, one of Marvel's most unique and fondly remembered publications is making its comeback this summer. So the Marvel swimsuit special, Friends and Foes, actually Friends, Foes, and Rivals #1. It's going to hit shops on July 9th. And reviving the playful tradition that delighted us old folks throughout the 90s. So for those of you that don't remember or are too young, the original Marvel swimsuit specials were primarily artist showcase that featured Marvel heroes and villains at the beach with obviously scantily covered dressings. So it was presented in a magazine format with humorous articles and descriptions. Each year's issue sent the heroes and villains to different exotic locations, from Savage Land to Monster Island. So the new special follows that winning formula, and it's going to be by writers Tim Seeley and Tony Fleece, featuring artwork with fan favorite Nick Bradshaw. And the plot centers on Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, Marvel's premier fashion designer, as she responds to an unauthorized swimwear special from Roxxon Comics by staging her own worldwide fashion shoot. So the supersized special features a splash page after splash page of gorgeous art with a story, so you can pretend you're reading it for the articles. And we're seeing some of the covers here. Is this covers or this is?
No, that's covers.
Is there a couple of the covers? Yeah.
Because originally you saw Adam Hughes. Before just now you saw Mark Brooks. That's Mark Brooks there. and then you had I think that's Russell Dauterman.
Yes. I was kind of
yeah.
disappointed.
No, it's
Not that it's a bad cover, but he's better, I think, than that.
all right. And then the last one is Torrin Clark, which that's bold.
Okay. The bow atop of the spider.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So on sale July 9th.
July 9th. And just want to show real quick, I was able to dig out a
No.
one
No.
from 91.
No. Please don't. Leo, please don't. All right, 5 seconds.
I want to
Show
see
it.
Yeah.
You see, this isn't even the worst one.
No.
You see, because I was the one where the Punisher was wearing a Speedo that had the skull on the front. Okay.
So if the Silver Surfer was to be wearing clothes, would that make him sexier?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I remember these.
Howard the Duck.
See, they clearly knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah.
They clearly knew.
What was the magazine that started
Oh
this
my God.
Wait
a second.
Was it like Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues?
That's Kevin. That's Kevin Nolan's work right there. Oh,
that's terrible. I mean, it's hilarious,
Leo,
but it's like,
no.
Leo, I'm thoroughly amused. Oh my God, what is that on the right?
That's Captain America.
I can't read. And who's the looking up at his bulge?
Justice.
Who is that? What?
Justice. It's probably just stop, please.
Oh
Carrie,
my God.
Carrie, please end it tonight.
Okay, so all right. So next up, now for an entirely different note, murder. All right. Yeah. So on July 16th, Image Comics is going to be releasing the first part of a 3-part miniseries, This Ends Tonight. This is written by Gary Dugan with interior artwork by Jay Lee and June Chung. They don't really do interiors anymore. They are more of a team for covers. So it's really cool that he was able to write a story that got them willing to write it. The 2 covers that you're seeing right now, the first one was by Jay Lee. This one second here is by Adam Hughes. And the series it's just 3 stories. It's interconnected. They all take place on the same night in Las Vegas. It's supposed to be kind of grabbing on a Quentin Tarantino-esque vibe. The first issue is 2 sisters who have some family secret that causes them to be hunted down by assassins. And the rest of the series will follow with various murder fest things going on. The goal apparently was that there are 250 murders a night that happen to take place, and they're trying to get them all into 3 issues. So it's going to be a fun little thing. I'm not trying to like make light of it, but all I've seen with the interiors here are these like little cut off, bits and pieces stuff. We don't really get to see a lot of the thing, but based on who's creating it, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So go ahead and get ready again. That's going to show up on July 16th. Yeah, looks like fun. If you like the bride, it looks like she's hanging out there maybe a little bit, and get your fun in with lots of murder fest in Las Vegas. And
nice.
Also, Tom would like to know that's America's ass.
Get out.
Thank you, Tom. I was curious.
No. Done. The story's over. News is done. Carrie, it's your turn.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Lee, if you could pull up Miskatonic High from the crowdfunding. We're going to jump into... I'll do it real quick. Shut up on this Kickstarter. Or something. I don't really have a thing for it.
We'll get there.
All right.
Okay, I did.
So up first tonight, we have Miskatonic High, issue 26, A Tale of Two Wrens. As one wren confronts the monster lurking in art class, another must escape an ancient reptilian cult. Issue 26 is all about the wrens. This project will be funded if it reaches its goal by Thursday, May 1st at 6:59 a.m., and that is in 8 days. Why this might sound familiar to you is that I recently did the H.P. Lovecraft's The Temple, and you can get a lot of the first issues of this in The Temple and Targeted Destroyed Digital Archive that came along with that. What we have going on here is Miskatonic High is a comic series about teens who take on Lovecraft's monsters in their small town high school, but they're not sure which is worse, the high school or the Lovecraftian monsters. Comic to go through. If you like your horror mixed with tongue-in-cheek humor and a bit of unexpected drama like Buffy, Evil Dead, or Get Out, you're probably going to enjoy Miskatonic High, as well as if you're really into Cthulhu and such. It takes them into a community services club, and on field trips, people are getting killed, evil tentacle monsters are rising. Everything is a lot of fun. There are a lot of different tiers that you can take on this, including mystery editions and such. But you can get it's a very sorry. I have to scroll every now and then because I miss things. Let's pull this up.
You're good, Carrie.
Oh no, I just between if you can pledge between $500 to $300 on it, but a lot of those are the catch-ups, and that's to get every cover of every hardcover that's been released so far. And like I said, this is issue 26. But you don't have to know a lot about Lovecraft, and a lot of these issues are standalone if you want to get into it. They do have some fun things going on with that little football flicky thing. That comes along with okay, the ancient tomes. Okay, the football flicky thing comes with various rewards. You're gonna have to go look at. There are a number of different rewards out there, but some of them have different things. These are two of the rewards. One of them, the football flicky thing, is free and it'll put your name on it. It's like what you do in high school when you would flick between other people's hands and play football. And the Miskatonic High pin that is shown there is glow in the dark. That's why it's shown twice. Going on, there will be some more of the add-ons that are available. I'm not going to go through, I could go through and tell you which one you can get every single one of these things at, but they are different. What's unusual about this one, and you can go on, I think there's more to show still, Leo, but I'm just going to talk about some of the other stuff, is that they have a back and hold edition where backers can choose to save on shipping costs by combining shipping for multiple campaigns. So you're planning on buying a lot of these, you can just wait for a while and go ahead and then order them en masse, like just have them hold this for you. And then okay, let us know. And then we're going to ship everything out to you together. To give you an idea of the savings, shipping one comic to Europe costs about $15. Shipping two costs about $19. So it doesn't cost as much to ship in the US, but it still saves you money. And something else that I found to be kind of interesting, they're doing floppy shipping, which is when they started it, they didn't have the real big cardboard boxes to put them in, like we were talking like the Gemini mailers and stuff. So there was a flexible shipping is what the postal service calls it. They call it floppy, and you risk having your comic damaged, but it's a lot cheaper if you're going to be ordering a lot of stuff. However, the only thing that you can order as far as an add-on that will go is the personalized flick football, because they don't want to risk having the other things damaged. But that's something else. So you have two different varied shipping arrangements to have them back and hold it, or to send you a floppy maybe not as great of condition comic, but you aren't paying as much for it. So it depends on if you're going for collecting or reading. And next, Leo, pull up the Worthy Chaos, because Carissa's got some crazy shit going on.
Nice, nice.
All right, so we start off with, this is what she's using for it, so I used it too. All right, so Worthy Chaos Devastation, issue 2. If you like Supernatural, Buffy, Westerns, this series is for you. Join them for their newest series of the 24-page issue 2. It's finished and will be shipped out within 6 weeks from the end of the campaign. PDFs will send out the day the Kickstarter ends. In this innovative narrative, angel descendant Seraphina and demon descendant Draven assume the roles of supernatural hunters in the 1880s, tasked with tracking and researching cryptids while collecting ingredients without killing them. They must evade angels, demons, alpha Wendigo, and mutated vampires known as the Clotters. One of the things that's really cool about this series is Carissa has made a collectible journal, so you can have this physical journal that she will then update every time things come out, new pages to track the cryptids that are in the series. Each at least one new page will be released with each new issue, and you can go back and buy the previous ones in one big chunk, or buy each one as they come out in a new series, and they will send that to you. The fun and adventurous series will keep you on your toes and allow you to interact with your favorite cryptids, as well as some new ones they created. There are Wendigos, dragon plants, wampus cats, sheep demons, squonk, chupacabras, crow demons, scarecrows, kelpies, mothman, Bigfoot, and many others. Beyond having that, you also get the chance to order all of these different plushies. So there are plushies for both the Devastation and the Redemption characters, and all of them are available for you to go ahead and pick up. The tiers, she has like 52 tiers on this one, from $5 to $199. A couple of them have been cut off, but you can grab pretty much anything you want as far as a combination of this cover or these covers or digital or physical with this combined with that. And she has, as far as I counted, unless I miscounted, 102 separate add-ons. Basically, she has all. She has gorgeous comics, amazing covers, great storylines. You get the books you like in digital, physical, or both. You can get metal covers. You can get what's it called? Their embossed metal covers, glow in the dark metal covers. Some of the reward tiers include handmade clay statues. You can get the pages for those other books. You can get coloring pages. You can get them both printed and in PDF forms. You can get an Anubis coin collection, metal bookmarks, metal trading cards, metal pins with backer cards, stickers, magnets, plushies, 3D pins and prints, metal embossed metal, and glow-in-the-dark metal covers. And yeah, Carissa, once again, has it all and is ready and waiting for you. Go out, grab it, get yourself a bunch of fun things. And if you're a particular fan of something specific of Carissa's, such as I happen to be a fan of the Crows, let her know if there's something that she has, such as a plushie or a 3D image or a clay statue that you're interested in, because she will be the nicest person on the face of this earth and go ahead and make a special tier that only you have access to, so that you can make sure that you order it without it going out of stock. She happened to do that for me for one of the Crows for the plushies this time around. So if you'll ever reach out, she's super friendly. She's not going to be like, oh, why are you talking to me? She'll be like, oh my God, I'm happy you love my stuff. Let me help you. What would you like? And she will hook you up. So those are the Kickstarters of the week. And everybody go out, have fun, support small creators, and get yourself a ton of stuff.
Oh, you're muted, Drew.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted.
Ah,
Apologies, Carrie. But yeah, Carissa always does great work. So wonderful.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Drew, who do we got next week?
Well, we have two guests coming up, Leo. I'm glad you mentioned it. So this weekend we have the illustrious Cy Spurrier will be coming on. So we're going to be talking to him about his work. If you're unfamiliar with him, he did a little book called John Constantine, Dead in America. And he also worked on a pretty fun book, in my opinion, Uncanny Spider-Man, which had Nightcrawler filling in for the web crawler. Among other things, he also did some great work with Hellraiser a couple of years ago. We have him coming on this Saturday. And then next week, we have our last guest of April, which is crazy because I could have sworn we just started April like yesterday. We have the great Phil Hester is coming back to talk with us. So should be pretty freaking cool. So I would definitely book those days and stay tuned.
Woohoo! Awesome.
Yay!
Well, I know we ran way too late, so we'll wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. Thanks for participating in the contest for tonight as well. And for me, just Google me. You'll find a bunch of stuff. But more importantly, follow these awesome people. Head on over to our YouTube page, Splash Pages, over on YouTube. And Splash Pages Comic Book Club should be Splash Pages Club. You know what? It's friggin' late. And also I do a couple other shows, Comics Paradox, The Dork Night, and then head on over to thedorkening.com. There's a ton of other shows, Epic Tales from the Sewers, if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a lot of awesome stuff. But without further ado, we'll kick it over to Carrie.
Hey, everybody. When I am not here hanging out with these awesome gents nerding out about comic books, I am also on another sub network of the Dorkening Network, the Owlite Network. We have a bunch of different shows that go on there as well. I try to be on most Sunday and Monday shows. Mondays we try to do Tomb of the Terrible. We have had a lot of issues happening lately with people moving, internet issues and stuff. So we have been skipping it for a couple of weeks, but we will be back and in charge very soon, hopefully next weekend. But yeah, catch me if you want to find me at Carrie Sanders over on Facebook. If you see a crow that is judging you, that's me, and I am judging you. Look at my stuff. I have links to my author page, links to all the other things that I do. Read my stuff if you're interested. Check out my other shows. Say hi. Send me bourbon. Send the squirrel anything. He drinks it all. It'll be fun. What's up with Drew?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you need to chat with me, I'm Drew Malo on Facebook, Ghostbusterman 1984 Instagram, Drew Malo on Blue Sky. I got to get back to that. And yeah, I'm just generally busy. So I'll get back to you, I promise. Like within next year or two.
After the beep.
Yep. And we'll see you next week. But till then, be well, have a great night, and leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Okay.
Great to see you too, Jar Jar. Do you have?
I got some comics. But...
Cool.
Ooh, we can have an opening.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
You can open them later.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.